Good morning, teacher and fellow classmates. Today, my group and I will be presenting on sugar industry. My group members consist of Osman Duran, Kamaini Augustin, Luis Sanchez, and myself, Naidali Ayuso. Introduction. Belize Sugar Industry, also known as BSI, produces bulk raw sugar on a standard demerara. BSI has an annual milling capacity of 1.3 million tons of sugarcane and farms sugarcane as well as receives cane from more than 5,000 independent Belizean farmers. BSI also generates renewable energy from sugarcane fiber, or bagasse, in its cogeneration plant, which powers the sugar-making operation and exports homegrown electricity to Belize's public power grid, providing approximately 15% of the nation's demand. History and origin of the sector. In 1848, the arrival of Yucatan refugees were cane cutting. In 1955 to 1963, BSI industry expanded annually. In 2012, ASR becomes the majority shareholder of Belize Sugar Industry. Belize Sugar Industry, also known as BSI, was founded in 1963 and has been producing sugar in the northern town of Orange Walk since 1967. It owns the only sugarcane mill in northern Belize and produces plantation, white sugar, bulk, raw, brown sugar, standard demerara, and molasses from sugarcane. Now we move on to my fellow colleague Kamaini, who will be explaining the other pointer.
The state of the economic sector today. What are some economic factors that might affect the business? Number 1. There are a few other businesses alternatives. Competition is limited. One business controls a sector. This means that there's always going to be one business that will always be the best, and they will always be competitors to that same business. BSI may have competitors, but they have learned to keep themselves high. Number 2, taxless interest rate. The higher the tax, the higher the selling price. Tax plays an important role in the price. It may not be able to create the same quality of the product. This means that less people will want to buy the product if the tax is raised due to it being more expensive. Number 3, the amount of goods a person can purchase. If the selling price is low, the customers will be able to buy more. If many customers can't buy the product, the price may increase or decrease depending on the business. This means that the sugar industry may want to decrease the prices if the sugars aren't selling rapidly or easier. They will want to decrease the prices so they sell faster. The sugar industry of Belize encompasses an important and significant part of the country's economy. Cabinet noted that the 2021 to 2022 cane production estimate is 1,355,324 metric tons of sugarcane, an increase of 157,324 metric tons over last year's production, which is near the milling capacity of the Town Hill Sugar Factory. Taking into consideration downtime due to mechanical failure, sugarcane quality, and unpredictable weather, among other unexpected delays, Cabinet views is a critical that the 2021 to 2022 sugarcane harvest begins in December 2021, as is programmed regardless of whether or not a new agreement on the commercial cane purchase agreement is research between the BSCFA and BSI ASR. I would like to introduce my other partner, Louis. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today we're talking to you about how each employees are important to our sugar factory industry. Firstly, I will start by saying the direct employment. There are approximately 5,000 workers directly employed by the sugar industry in Belize. These jobs include sugar cane cutters, factories workers, and administration staff. I will next start by indirect employment. The sugar industry also supports a significant number of indirect jobs. These jobs include transportation, trucking, and marketing. It is estimated that about 40% depend directly and indirectly by the sugar industry in Belize. Here are some specific examples of how sugar industry contribute to employment in Belize. The first and main one is sugarcane cutter. The sugarcane cutters are responsible for harvesting sugarcane from the field. This is physically demanding job, but it also is a well-paid job. The next one is the factory workers. The factory workers are responsible for processing sugarcane into sugar. This includes tasks such as loading and unloading sugarcane, operating machinery, and packaging sugar. The next one is trucking. The trucking companies are responsible for transporting sugar from field to the factory. They also create jobs for truck driver, bus driver, and sailors. And to finish off, the most important one as well is the marketing. The sugar industry needs to market its product to consume around the world. This creates jobs for marketing professionals such as sales representative and advertising executive. Thank you very much.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about the GDP contributions that the sugar industry does to Belize. Now, for this industry, we have two main factories. To the north, we have ASR BSI, and to the south, we have Santander. Now, in terms of who contributes most, I think it's obvious that ASR BSI is a very dominant in the sugar industry, both foreign and local, in terms of the both of them between Santander and ASR BSI. As you know, BSI has the rights to sell to the local market here in Belize, while Santander does not have that privilege. They need to export to foreign countries and they cannot sell their sugar in Belize. So that obviously means that ASR BSI has a bigger market since they're also a bigger factory, so they can produce lots more of sugar. So if they produce lots more sugar and export lots more sugar, then they have a higher intake, and in turn the government gets taxes, increasing the GDP of the country. It should be noted that the sugar industry comprises of almost 50% of the total exports that Belize does. But it should also be noted that Belize isn't a huge exporter in terms of everything, right? Mostly agriculture based we export. So it doesn't come to us as a surprise as to see an industry such as the sugar industry, which is dominant by ASR BSI, being able to produce a large quantity of sugar. So to start off, let's see how much each of these and the amount of sugar ASR BSI produce and Santander. To start off, ASR BSI produces annually around 1.3 million tons of sugar compared to Santander's only 54,250 tons. Now you can see the clear difference between these two, 1.3 million compared to 54,000. Santander is relatively new, so probably in the future we can see this number rise and continue to rise. But for now, ASR BSI produces far more sugar than Santander. So with that large outtake of sugar, we can see that ASR BSI contributes to around 5% of the total GDP, gross domestic product, of this country, Belize. while Santander only contributes to around 1.1% of the total GDP. Now, we know the percentage, but now we need to learn the total. In terms of these monies are in US currency, by the way. For ASI BSI, they contribute around 124.6 million USD dollars to the GDP of Belize. Now, Santander doesn't even give off half of that, with only giving $27.2 million GDP contribution to Belize. Now, they're both obviously in the millions, so in a way that's good for the country to, you know, work, I guess. And interesting about these two industries is that they both contribute electricity to the country, which in a way does level the burden that these countries would. For example, ASI contributes to around 50%, 15% of the total electricity needs of the country. While I couldn't find any info on the electricity produced by Santander, I have found articles saying that they do indeed produce electricity for the country. So in total, GDP contributions to Belize by the sugar industry amounts to 6.1% of the total GDP. Now, over the years, these numbers have been rising, and currently, this year's um, crop was unfortunately a very poor one, and they didn't even get to raise or produce around 1 million tons of sugar. Um, well, with that, my group and I concludes our presentation. If you have any questions, then feel free to ask. If not, then I thank you for listening to us, and I hope you learn more about the Belize sugar industry. Thank you.